the top three items. Don't sacrifice your core. Don't move too fast without understanding how your organization truly works. Embrace the things that are out there and learn.
Welcome back to Raw AI Solutions, the podcast where we explore how business leaders are navigating the fast-moving world of AI and digital transformation. I'm your host, Denise Powell, and today we are joined by Paul Ramos, founder and CEO of Ridiculous Engineering. So, Paul, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Paul, would you like to kick us off, tell the listeners a bit about yourself and your company?
I am a software engineer by trade and have made my way up to running my own business. I've worked from small business, mid-size, all the way up to large enterprise companies as an engineer and then into leadership. And in 2020 is when I started my own company. And which is a fantastic year to go into your own business in the middle of a pandemic. But we're still here. I brought in two good friends of mine to be co-partners, and because you can't go these things alone. And we've been doing software engineering consulting since then and helping businesses grow their vision. And when they reach out to us, we understand their issues and just roll up our sleeves and get in and help them on their journey.
That's great. So when you say that, so is it when businesses want to enter into transformation, that's when you come around, or if they just need development done?
It's both. We tackle both. So they may already have a vision that they want to either transform into or change, or it could be just pure engineering talent. Hey, we need a team in a box to help them engineer through some things, or they don't have enough staff on hand to do it, and we jump in and help them out. And we're really focused on collaboration and things like that.
So tell us about your journey. How did you go from like full-time working into starting your own company? What made you take that leap?
I was working for a mid-sized company in the ad tech space, and they were doing their own transformation, and it became not the right fit. So I left there in 2019, right at the end of 2019, and thought, I'll take a month or two off, or a month off, really recalibrate like many people do, and hit the streets. Now, then there was a pandemic. Everybody slowed way down, and there's a sense of age. A lot of companies like to hire younger, and was met with a lot of blockers in the way of getting hired. And I thought, well, if I'm going to go down financially, it might as well be by my own hands. I had started the company as a place to do just some side contract work, and thought, well, we're all in now. And so that's when we started in earnest, is in 2020, and brought in my two co-founders, and have been carving our way since.
And never look back.
Never. I have to say, it's been fantastic. I am super happy every day. It is absolutely grueling and scary, but very much worth it. Very much worth it.
Absolutely agree there. Well,
Yeah.
Today we are spotlighting the hidden pitfalls that quietly derail even the most ambitious change programs. So how smart leaders can avoid them? What are the biggest mistakes companies are making in transformation these days? But before we delve in, Paul, have you seen any trend that's been changing over the last year? Like, are your customers asking a different question now to what they were about a year ago?
I haven't seen a lot of questioning from clients. I think a lot of our clients have a vision of where they want to go. Navigating that can be very tricky, and there's definitely some pitfalls that companies want to avoid, especially in the advent of AI. There's a lot there that can be risky when you're looking to transform your business to be operationally more efficient, financially more efficient, all of it. One of the things that I list in the top three items that are risks is don't sacrifice your core. Evolve it from the inside out in measurable pieces. When some companies say we're going to do XYZ, and then it's clear the table, tabula rasa, and that is super disruptive, and then ends up disrupting your financial core in the long run, and makes it 2-3 times as hard to deliver on what your end goal is, which is one of the main things that I think that a lot of companies run into.
And what have you done yourselves to prevent that from happening? Or when you do see that happening, what have you done to guide companies away from that?
You want to be way out here, and you really need to map out that journey, and let's help you do that in terms of small pieces here. Let's measure it. Let's look at this, and like, how is that fundamentally changing your organization and how you work and how you do business? And then at each step, measure and choose your direction, but always having that end goal state in mind. And it's very easy for the upper end of mid-level or the top end of the business pyramid of management to say, oh, there's a new shiny thing, we're going full on into that direction. I would say that's another item on my list of top 3 of things to avoid. Don't move too fast without understanding how your organization truly works. If you don't have that boots on the ground understanding, you impact your organization in giant ways. One of the things that I like to think about in terms of the management decision process and understanding how it affects your organization is, if you imagine that you have a rope and you're holding it in your hand and you're swinging it around your head, and I'm sure people have heard this before, and you are at the hand, and so these are little tiny things to you that you're moving, but the rest of your organization is way out at the end of the rope, and it's wildly swinging around, and that can have huge effects on how you transition your company and change. So I think it's very impactful when if you start to think about things in that way, and keeping that end goal and the journey and measurable processes, and making sure that you're not wildly swinging around, is super important.
And what do you think companies should do to stop that like whiplash effect, basically, of massive change taking place further down the line?
I think it goes back to understanding how your business operates today, right? So buy-in from lower portions of your organization, if they're buying in and you're understanding how their day-to-day is going, then you can absolutely start to make those changes and understand, like, oh, yes, I'm way up here and my individual contributor is down here with the day to day, but the reality is that's where the rubber hits the road, and that's where your business actually happens. They're the ones that are doing the things for your customers. They're communicating with your customers, and that information flow needs to be really crystal clear, so that when you say we're going to go off in this direction, that it's not a huge binary switch on off, right? Whoop, we're moving over here now, because that's the whiplash that I'm talking about.
And I think one of the key things is communication. Like,
Yes.
you cannot over communicate. You need to communicate to get
Yeah.
change actually delivered.
Yeah. I think and it's not just communicate down, it's communicate up, fostering that relationship, making sure that in some sense on a par with every piece of your organization in terms of communication and collaboration is critical. Uh, some organizations, they get very hierarchical, and the individual contributors don't feel comfortable communicating upwards, and there's these edicts that come down that and there's a wall, and honestly, that's one of the things that can very much block transformation within organizations.
How have you found, so if you haven't seen actual massive trends or massive company questions over the last year, how are you planning to stay ahead of the curve in this space, especially with or then, as you said, the all new shiny toys, and every company wants to do it and change their strategy so they can bring AI on board.
Right.
How are you staying ahead of that?
Well, I think you need to embrace it. We have brought in AI as soon as it really started to take off. As a person running his own company, I immediately, picked up a great graphics card to run local LLMs. Let's truly understand this. How can this work? How can we run this stuff locally? What does it mean for us as an organization, and embrace it to really, really understand it from my point uh, in the management level, and then how can it be applied to the individual contributor? And I can tell you, there is amazing stuff out there. I know that there is a lot of talk about, well, there's rifts going on in companies right now because we're all in on AI, and we're going to do all of this stuff, and software engineering is going to be taken over. And the reality is I've been living it for the last 5 years, and I think that while it is an extremely useful tool, your individual contributors, the people who would technically be using this day to day, they're not going anywhere. And that's not to say that if your organization is bloated, or you have definitely too many people, that there isn't some places that you can make cut. But in my mind, when I think, okay, AI can make a developer a 10x developer, and why would you shorten your number of engineers that can be 10x engineers, down from, like, let's say 10 people to 5 people? Why'd you cut it in half? You could have had 10x engineers versus 5 10x engineers. And to be honest, there's a lot of there's shepherding that has to happen with AI. It's an amazing tool, but I also like to look at it as a very, very smart junior developer. There's a lot of shepherding that needs to happen these days, and I suspect that this will lessen as we go forward, and we train LLMs more and more. But it's going to be a longer journey than I think a lot of people realize.
I agree with you, and I think there's out there, there's either massive fear, let's not touch AI because can it still be
Oh yeah,
trusted, or there's a AI is the silver bullet, it's going to solve absolutely everything. So
right, right.
yeah, and it's about the education about AI is fantastic, but you need to wield it responsibly as well.
Of course, absolutely. And I think, one of the things that we've really embodied for us on our side is moderation, right? Moderation is key. We're not 100% into it. We're not eschewing it. It is a tool. It is a tool that can be used, and you need to understand how to use it responsibly and check and do things. You can do amazing things, but you definitely want to make sure you are using it appropriately, right? When you have a hammer, everything's a nail, but that doesn't make sense, right? And I think, to kind of bring it back to the top three mistakes that ruin company changes: embrace the things that are out there and learn. Make sure you understand it, and that goes from the top level to the bottom level, to really understand it, because then you can make an informed decision. And that's one of the things that we do on our side. Is if our clients have a question or something like, how can this affect my business,
Mm.
we give that information out. I mean, like, this is how it can affect your business. Like, go ahead and do this, dip your toes in, put your foot in, because you're really going to understand it that way. And if you don't have that, then we can absolutely supply that information to you, because we've seen it, we're living it, we're breathing it, all of that.
I love that. So, yes, talk is cheap. I love the
Yeah,
fact that you walk that walk. Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so, Paul, you've written about how misalignment between leadership teams, or leadership and teams, can quietly like sabotage company-wide change. So, what warning signs should leaders be watching for, and how can they avoid that kind of breakdown?
One of the first indicators, although it's almost too late in some ways, is your turnover rate. I mean, are your people happy? What's happening there? Are you losing a lot of people, and always in a hiring state? Some of those types of things are massive indicators of communication problems, happiness, all of that kind of stuff. It's really, really critical.
Mhm.
Companies are living, breathing organizations, and you have to nurture it. And as I say, right, the soft skills are the hardest things. It's the hardest part, right?
Absolutely.
Understanding your people, what makes them go. People work to support their lives, right? And as a CEO, I'm passionate about my company. I'm passionate about what we're doing, but I don't expect the people that I bring in to be as passionate as me. But maybe they're passionate about woodworking, or maybe they're passionate about music, or they play in a band, or whatever brings them passion. And that is important, because the reality is, hey, I believe in your passion. You can believe in mine some. You don't have to 100%. But if we work together, we can grow the organization. We can help people grow revenue. And I believe in sharing my success. The only way we get through in this world is by working together, right? And if you're helping me out, then and our revenues rise, then you get the raise, and you can buy that new woodworking tool. You can do that thing that you're passionate about. And I definitely see that through line. And I think it's missed a lot in corporate America, corporate world, I should say, because I apologize. I'm here in the US, so I should speak more of in a global terms, because it's we are a global
Mm.
humanity, right? We work together. So um, yeah.
Yeah. One of the few things I'm hearing a lot of my clients say is that you should hire for culture and those soft skills because the rest can be learned. But those kind of things you either fit into the culture or you don't, and that will really change the company dynamic, whether you fit together as a team or you
Yeah,
don't.
yeah, yeah. I would 100% agree with that. And fire in the belly, right? Like, what do are you passionate about something? Just something. Doesn't matter. It could be collecting mushrooms, or butterfly, or watercolor, or whatever it is. What drives you is key. Like, something should be driving you, and the rest is you learn. It's a job, it's work, it's that kind of stuff. But if you can combine those things effectively, you can have a pretty performant organization.
Yeah, couldn't agree more there. So I'm going to go back to technology. So
Yeah.
companies quite often they overcomplicate their tooling during transformation. So how do you think leaders should approach like tech stack decisions, like what fits in, especially with AI coming up, um, and also with the pressure to innovate all the time? How do you stop that overcomplicating the tooling stack?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it goes back to having that persistence of vision of what your end goal is, and really saying, okay, and say, we're going to innovate. Maybe it's a small tool to make a group in your organization more efficient, right? How, when we redo this one tool, will that affect the rest of the organization and how they operate? And what's the 3-year knock-on effect of making this change, right? Are we still going to be on track? And really being able to have that persistence of vision and say, okay, maybe our transformation is going to take 5 years, 10 years, whatever it happens to be, to say we're trying to get to this point. So often I see organizations, they start to wander off, and then the next thing they know is they're 6 miles away from where they were supposed to go. It's 5 years into their 10-year roadmap, and they're like, oh god, we got to do a transformation again, and we just blew all of this without actually taking advantage of the things that they were building. And it can become an issue.
So if you had to strip down transformation into just three core principles, what would they be and why?
uh, Organizational knowledge, persistence of vision, so you have your goal that doesn't move, and nurture your core.
Love it.
Nurture your core.
That,
Because
that's
without the
that's
core, you're nothing, right? You've lost what made you exist in the first place.
Let's zoom out a little bit and looking at what's next in the next stage of growth for Ridiculous Engineering. Where would you like to take your company over the next 6 to 12 months?
I would like to continue to grow. We're definitely in a growth phase, and I we are a small firm, so in a lot of ways, even me on the C level, I've got my hands on keyboard. I'm coding, but I'm also running the business and doing sales and doing all the other things that a C level person does. And so, in the next 6 to 12 months, I would like to continue to grow and be able to be more on the working on the business versus in the business. Pretty simple.
Absolutely.
Easy. Just got to go out and do it.
Exactly. I think there's a book called The E Myth or something that says, yeah, work on your business, not in your business if you want to
Yep.
succeed.
Yep.
Yeah.
That transition is hard. We are a fully bootstrapped company, so we've just been doing it on our own the whole way. So the fact that we've been in earnest for 5 years, I guess we're doing something right.
Working.
So,
Exactly.
but we're keen to grow. So if
We were saying
someone's out there who needs help, give us a call.
we were saying it's kind of a chicken egg situation. Do you hire more people so you can take on extra work, or do you first get those clients before you hire the extra people? How do you approach it?
I approach it with clients first, then hire. One of the amazing things about the world we live in today is that it truly is global. I mean, I was joking earlier about I should speak more globally. We've worked to have partners so that we have resources beyond just our core team, right?
Mm,
So we're able to offer more to everyone to say, okay, we're as a founder, we're always involved and making sure everything goes right. But when it comes to expanded resources, we now have a much larger group to draw on. And I view it as sort of concentric circles going from us, the founders, to we've all been in the space for 25 plus years, the three
mm,
founders. So we have a quiver of very talented folks within the United States and a little bit abroad, and then we that's the next ring, and then the next ring out from there is our subcontract partners and things like that we pull in to blend together to do things for our clients.
yeah, as you said,
Yeah,
teamwork.
yeah, it is teamwork.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah,
Um, so, what do you find one of your biggest challenges are?
sales. In today's world, the algorithms and everything and connecting to people to really get people in need in contact with us is a Mount Everest of effort and challenges to get people to say, oh yeah, here's a team that can do this for us. I've got people on the bench right now that with 25 plus years of experience, senior level folks, and we're trying to get the message out like, hey, if you have an idea or a problem, we're here, we're ready to rock. And getting that message out is so hard. We've got LinkedIn, social medias, and it's uh, the problem of the digital space that we all live in now, which is great. We are all connected, but then the noise of 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 everything coming back to us blinds us to what organizations are there out there that you can work with that will go in, do the job, and get it done for you.
And which ones are legitimate?
Yeah, yeah, and which are fly by night, right?
Exactly,
So how do you
exactly.
tell? And especially, and like I said, with AI, you can be fly by night and look like something much larger than you really are, and be able to deliver. And that's one of the things that we struggle with. I think we have a fun name as a company, right? Like Ridiculous Engineering. But I think some people might look at it and say like, "Oh, I don't know. That's maybe we shouldn't call these guys." But on the other hand, and go back to the very beginning of this conversation, and our story is as I was going through the process of where is my next chapter in my life and the work life. I you know I had this thought that it's ridiculous what happens inside of large organizations. It's ridiculous what I'm dealing with in terms of everything involved in my career. And so let's just name it that. We're going to engineer it for ourselves, and we'll engineer it for others. And our ethos is just roll up our sleeves and let's get to work. And our tagline is we make hard problems ridiculously easy, because people come to us and it doesn't matter if it's a small thing or a very large thing. We're just going to roll
Mm,
up our sleeves and figure it out, and let's just get down to brass tacks and do it. So yeah.
I love that. It's very memorable, the name for sure.
Thank you.
So, Paul,
Shockingly, the
if you,
domain was available.
if you had to solve one issue with a click of a finger right now, what would it be?
Oh boy. Oh goodness. Um, this is going to be a bold answer. Trust. People should trust people more. And I know that there's always bad actors out there. That goes without saying. But if I could, with a snap of a button, trust, because and maybe I know a lot of people are going to say, well, you're really naive, but we're all just people. We're all trying to make it in this world, and um, take. There are going to be people who take advantage. We know this, but by and large, I think most people, they know that if they live up to the things that they say, that then it comes back to them in a positive way. And so if that is the thing that I could snap my fingers and make better, and I think it would affect, it's not just the work world, it's just the world in general. And so I really take that view of people just need to trust each other more, um,
I
because
love that. There's an expression that those people who don't trust aren't trustworthy.
yeah,
And I think, I wonder how true that is. Because I love that idea of, yeah, let's solve trust. Because it would solve a lot of issues out there.
yeah, yeah.
Mm,
I mean, it's right up there with world hunger, but I think maybe trust is fundamental to that. Well, I trust that if I share my bread with you, that something that it's going to impact the world in a positive way, right? And I think it goes beyond the work life, right? At the end of the day, like I said, we are humans. We have families. We need roofs over our head. We need food. We need safety. We need all of those things. The hierarchy of needs. Those are the things, and I think trust can go a very long way in solving a lot of that.
couldn't agree more there. So before we wrap up, Paul,
Yeah,
got to ask you, if you had to give yourself one piece of advice before you even started, what is the advice you'd go back and give yourself?
boy, that is a good question. Um, take care of myself more, right?
Mm.
I think take care of yourself. Uh, there is, I think, in a lot of ways, in the entrepreneurial world, there's that sort of grind ethos, right? Well, if you're not putting in 100-hour weeks, 150-hour weeks, whatever it happens to be, then you're not really doing it. And I think that is a great way to burn out. and a great way to miss things. In my experience over the last 5 years, in the beginning, I was doing it right. 100-hour weeks, doing all of the things, and in some ways, you kind of have to when you're bootstrapping a company. There's nobody else is going to do it for you, and you don't have any other resources. But being able to recognize that you can pull back, you can find that balance, because when you find that balance, then you're going to ultimately perform at a higher level,
Mm.
and you're not going to be tired and things like that, mentally, physically, whatever it happens to be. So yeah, I think that's probably the advice I would give myself.
Well, lovely. Thank you so much, Paul. If listeners would like to know more about ridiculous engineering or reach out directly to Paul Ramos, the contact details you'll find below in the description. Paul, it's been wonderful having you aboard. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. I really enjoyed myself, and I love this conversation. So
Well, wishing you all the best. Take care.
yeah.